Today, we'll be sharing a professional development session focused on enhancing reading comprehension through data-driven instruction in PLCs. Okay, so this session is designed to build our capacity as collaborative educators and teachers using real data to inform our instruction and strengthen student reading outcomes. So on this slide, I put on our rationale and our justification of why I made this professional development. This professional development is rooted in job embedded learning, meaning it's directly connected to our daily teaching practices that we do in our classrooms every day. Our PLC structure provides the perfect opportunity for that. So collaborating, analyzing data, and applying targeted strategies immediately in our classrooms. So what are we going to accomplish with today's PD? Today we're going to accomplish and understand these objectives. Understand how data-driven instruction supports reading comprehension. Explore how PLCs that we have to attend can use data to inform our instruction and apply effective reading comprehension strategies based on student needs. And we're going to develop a plan for collaborative data during our review cycles. Everybody okay?
Yes.
Needs assessment that I did a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to add it on here. And when I did this was the main thing that we really needed for our classrooms is data-driven instruction. And I also connected the reading comprehension strategies as well to try to push it along. Why reading comprehension? It is foundational to learning across all subjects. If we don't read, if we don't have students to read, they can't do math. They have to be able to read instructions and different things. So student data showed gaps in comprehension and inference skills. Strong literacy skills correlate with overall academic success. So in order for that student to be successful in reading comprehension, they have to know how to read. They have to know how to break up the letter sounds and blend them back together. So what is data-driven instruction? Does anybody know?
Using data to plan and implement instruction.
So using data to plan and implement instruction. So we use data a lot to create our lesson plans and to be able to go in our classroom and do those lesson plans straight out. So it involves a continuous cycle. We collect, that means we do like formative and summative assessments. We analyze the data that we get from those assessments. We act on it, that means we go in our classroom and we do our lesson plan that we created because of our data, and then we reflect on it. So this encourages targeted instruction and measurable progress. So I was reading some articles and I found this related to research. The most effective professional development is ongoing content focused and directly connected to daily practice. So if you go in a classroom and you just willy-nilly come up with a lesson that isn't connected to something that the child is learning at that time, are they going to understand it?
No.
Probably not. So also another quote from Darling Hammond is professional learning is most effective when it is active, collaborative, and sustained over time. That means if that child is not engaged, that child's probably not learning. They have to actively be engaged when they're learning. All right, the role of this PLC today is regular collaboration focused on student outcomes. So I did a needs assessment for our class, our grade level. Also, we're going to do a meeting to analyze data, and we're going to plan an instructional plan to do in the classroom to improve the reading comprehension. Also, this PLC is going to promote shared accountability and professional growth. So we have to work together. We have to be collaborative. A PLC walking through the data cycle works collaboratively, just like I said, to analyze, interpret, and act on student data to improve teaching and learning. Here's the process. And I've already mentioned it one time before. Collect data, analyze data, interpret data, plan, implement, and evaluate and adjust, and then repeat. So when you evaluate and adjust, if that plan didn't work, of course, you're going to repeat it to try to see if you can tweak it a little bit to work. So when we collect data, what do?
Giving assessments.
We do assessments, formative, summative, even if you observe your classroom during an assignment or during an activity, that is also data. For instance, I put examples on all of these. The team collects results from a recent reading comprehension assessment across all of first grade, and they use that data to form groups, small groups, in order to like pinpoint what they are struggling with to help them improve. Analyze data. That's when we do what?
You look over the assessment and you might create small groups or see the
Same thing I just
specific
said.
area.
Create small groups. You target that one specific area. So some questions being asked during this part of the process are, which standards or skills did students perform well on? Where are the gaps? Are there subgroup differences? That's questions you need to ask yourself when you are analyzing data. Teachers noticed that most students struggle with making inferences, while they did well on identifying main ideas, and that's one of my examples of how you can analyze data. All right? When you interpret data, we always get together once a week, and if we have data or whatever, and it's usually during data days, we discuss the results of our class's data. So that's why you interpret it. They sit there and break it up and figure out what skills and what concepts that need to be built upon. So questions during this process is, what instructional practices might have contributed to these outcomes? Were there differences in teaching approaches or pacing? And each class is going to be different, but we have to think about, how can we do like the other teacher that has good grades? What are they doing different than we are? So also, what external factors may have influenced performance? For example, one teacher shares that she used think aloud strategies during reading, which seemed to help students infer meaning. So always share strategies, because you never know when it's going to help the next teacher. And then you plan. When we plan, we always target that one specific skill. Okay? The team will identify specific strategies to reteach difficult skills, group students for differentiation or small group instructions. And then we plan common, meaning that each grade or class does a common formative assessment to monitor the progress, whether they've improved or they regressed. For example, the team decides to implement weekly inference mini lessons and use graphic organized to support comprehension. And of course, you implement. Teachers apply the agreed upon strategies in their classrooms and monitor student progress. So like we've used before to collect data, we could use formative assessments to see if changes are effective. Even if you use the same formative assessment, that's still going to be able to gauge whether they understand or not. They share updates during future PLC meetings. That means that, for instance, if we go to a PLC meeting and we share our data and we come up with a plan and then we leave and we implement it, when we come back together as a PLC, we could look at the new data and compare the old data with the new data. For example, after 2 weeks, teachers bring new exit ticket data to see if inference skills have improved. Evaluate and adjust. We do this all the time. When we're in the middle of a lesson and something goes wrong, we're always adjusting or implementing something else and doing what we need to do to make sure that everybody understands. So finally, the PLC revisits the data to evaluate the impact of their plan. Some questions asked during this part is, did student achievement improve? Which strategies work best? And what adjustments are needed before moving to the next cycle? So for example, the data shows a 20% improvement in inference comprehension. So the team continues the strategy while focusing to summarizing text. So there's different strategies that you could use for reading comprehension, and most of everybody in here knows about them. But reciprocal teaching, that's when students lead the discussions and students lead the asking questions and summarizing or clarifying information that they read in the text to make sure that they understand. And that happens a lot in class. Think alouds, where teachers model their thinking process out loud to show students how strong readers make sense of a text. And graphic organizers, visualize relationships in text. And we use a lot of graphic organizers, and I love them. And also text annotations, where you encourage active reading. And usually we do that during a small group when they have either read to self or read to someone. Okay.